Hello and welcome to Oman, where we're here today driving the new Infiniti QX50. And if you're wondering what the QX50 is, well, it's the artist formerly known as the EX35 many years ago. Of course, it's all new for 2018, and it's got a trick new engine under the hood called the VC Turbo. Yes, the V6 is gone, but this engine is so much more than that. It promises both power and efficiency in one compact package. Prices for the QX50, I can't remember saying that, start at $44,000, go up to $63,000 for the full autograph version with all the bells and whistles. So you want to hear about that engine? Well, let me tell you about that engine. So what is VC Turbo? Well, it's Nissan's supposedly revolutionary new four-cylinder engine. Actually, it is quite revolutionary. Basically, they have a very different way of doing the stroke in... Oh, I know you're bored. You don't really care. All you need to know is that basically it's a four-cylinder engine that does 270 horsepower and a fair bit of torque. So now that's actually less horsepower than the outgoing car. That had a 326 from a 3.7 litre V6. So why is it less and yet they're saying it's better? Well, it does way better on fuel economy because it's a four-cylinder, and it actually develops more torque at lower RPM. Now the proof is in the pudding, and when we get to the drive part, we'll see if it actually makes a difference. But I actually think it's a good thing. Most people don't really drive these cars that fast. So you might as well have a car that's more efficient most of the time and powerful enough when you need it. The gearbox as standard is a CVT transmission. And yes, I know how you feel about CVTs. I am the same. But I think that Infiniti have hopefully clinched. I think CVTs are getting a lot better now. And to be honest with you, in this segment, that's all that you're getting. So you might as well get used to it. But hopefully the efficiency improvements are worth it. So let's take a look at the inside of the QX50 and see if it is as luxurious as they claim. So we're in the back of the QX50, and what's it like? Well, the old car was a little bit cramped in the back, but this seems much nicer. I've got plenty of space back here. The seats are mounted a little low, so my knees are sitting a bit high. I'm a bit above average height, I think. Armrest, what have we got? Nothing much. We've got a couple of cup holders and what appears to be an iPad holder, which is quite novel. But apart from that, not a whole lot going on back here. There's no rear entertainment. This is a fully loaded autograph model. And of course, we've got space here for your maps, if you still have maps. Maybe you put your phone there. Otherwise, it's a quite nice place to be. It's comfortable. There's got plenty of headroom. If you were 6 foot, you might struggle a little bit. So it's like 5'10", 5'12 max. And apart from that, what else we got? We've got a USB down here. Yep, nice rubber holder actually. Separate temperature gauge, cigarette lighter, and AC vents. And that is really it. Let's hope there's more in the front. So we're here in the driver's side of the QX50, and there's a lot to like about this car right off the bat. First of all, you've got these amazing zero-G gravity seats, which is a fancy way of saying they're designed by NASA and they're very comfortable. I don't know if they're actually designed by NASA, but I hope they are because they are really nice. They've got this amazing quilted pattern. They are really nice to sit on. They hold in all the right places. But my favorite touch about this car is one that's actually only available on this top-end autograph model, and that's this aquamarine blue. I'm not sure if it's micro suede. I'm not sure what the fabric is. It's a bizarre sort of choice, but it runs through the entire spine of the cabin. It's absolutely gorgeous. It runs across the spar of the dashboard as well, and it just lifts it up. I've never seen blue in the interior, so it's such a nice thing. One thing Infiniti likes to tout is the fact that this dashboard is completely wrapped in leather. Now that's something that isn't really common unless you're in a Rolls Royce or Bentley. So they say at the premium volume segment, which is what this car really is, premium volume, you do get leather wrapped dashboards. And I think it's nice. It lifts the ambience. It's not a deal breaker for me because I'm used to all the leatherette vinyl type things. I'm not really that fussed. So what's the car like? Well, let's start it up and see. Oh, engine buttons down here. It's quite simple, logical, easy to lay out in the typical Japanese fashion, but it is very nice to look at. I like that they haven't gone for a full digital dashboard. They've got a classic double dial approach with the usual sort of center screen. All of this in the middle is very good. Not so good is this gear stick, which is that classic back forward thing. Hopefully I haven't moved the car. I would like just having a gear stick. You know, I'd even prefer the American pull down thing because this is just so weird. On here, you've also got the controls for the screen, which is weird because it's really quite close. I'm not sure why you'd need to have a separate one here. Driving modes, as you'd expect, parking brake, stop start, and the engine button. And there's a bin down here. What have we got? Come on, there we go. Oh, it's quite shallow. You can put a couple of cups down here and a very oddly shaped cell phone. A couple of USB sockets. Yeah, USBs. Any USBs down here? One more USB down here. Quite deep, actually. But you can't put an iPad mini maybe. Other than that, pretty straightforward. Steering wheel, we've got a radar cruise control options, various switch. Oh, you can see the VC turbo right here. That's quite nice. You can see it in motion if you're a really boring person. And all the usual volume control, track, and so on. So this is quite a nice interior. I have not talked about the infotainment because let's be honest, the infotainment is not always the best things about Infiniti at the moment. I think they're a little behind the curve. It's not bad. I should say it's not bad. But it is, however, a little stylistically a bit boring. So you've got the obvious stuff like navigation, climate and all that, and it works. And it's nice and high res and it's crisp and it's fast and all of the above. But it's a little boring. And I think the car, which is quite brave and quite nice looking in that bionic cheetah Infiniti style, deserves something a little bit more flashy on the inside. So really, this is a car that's all about people who are just going to be going, frankly, to the mall. They're just going to be places where they go back and forth. They're not going to be driving this car. So these things matter. It needs to be a nice, comfortable place to be. And that way I'm happy. Only one more thing to see. How good is this VC turbo engine on the road? Can it replace the V6, which we really liked? Only one way to find out. Okay, so we've left the hotel, the very lovely Balid Hotel Anatara in Salalah, and we're still in Salalah. We're out in the mountains near Wadi Darbat. So I'll take the Infiniti QX50 for a quick drive and see what it's like. We've already driven it a bit, and I'm quite impressed with the car so far. Not the flies of Salalah, they're all over the place. It's a really nice, really comfortable place to be. The ride is pretty good. I think these cars are all running on 20-inch wheels. They're autograph cars, so they're all top of the line. They're all pretty decent, pretty easy to drive. Let's take it a bit of a spin. CVT again and gearbox, 270 horsepower engine, 268 to be fair, from this 4-cylinder. And we're coming through the mountains. Let's see how it is. So what have we got for performance? Well, it's a little less horsepower but more torque. So in reality it should feel a bit better than the old car. It doesn't quite seem as powerful as the old car because, like all modern cars, drive-by-wire throttles. So it takes a little while for the power to be delivered. Steering is actually a little heavy. It's got a good bit of feel to it. It's a bit chunky. I don't know if that's what people want, because people want very light, soft steering, but this is actually quite comfortable. If you like heavy steering. If you don't like heavy steering, it's a problem. It's not so bouncy here. It's just that we have quite broken roads, but it's soaking it all up really well. It's really soaking it up quite well. Oh, what are we going to? We're actually going into Wadi Darbat, which is a massive tourist area. Okay, maybe not the best place to test a car, but it's such a nice place to be. These seats are really comfortable. It's very inoffensive. If the old car was kind of a sporty thing, this is a massive personality change from Infiniti. It's a car that's much nicer to just drive around town, but not necessarily a sports car. Not necessarily a car to fling and take up to the mountains. I mean, it'll do it, but yeah, it's more about the economy. What isn't these days? All these cars are much more safer and sensible. I like it. I like it. It's a nice cabin as well. I think they've sweated the important stuff. So the car feels expensive. All this. I love this blue. I mentioned it before. I love this blue. It's a great thing. Don't love the traffic through Wadi Darbat. Oh, there's just cars everywhere. If you've never been to Wadi Darbat in Salalah, it's lovely, but it's very wet at this time of the year. I think Kharif season or the monsoon season has just finished, so it is a little bit wetter than it used to be. Let's see if I can flip a U-turn here. This is interesting. Oh, if you've never been to Wadi Darbat, most aggressive mosquitoes on the planet. So it is incredibly mosquito-y. I'm stuck in front of a Lexus. I think they planted it here to annoy us. So things I like about the Infiniti QX. It's got good steering. CVT is actually pretty inoffensive. Doesn't really bother me anymore. The power is decent. Sort of hits you around 3,000-4,000 RPM. I'll see if I can show you in a second. Things I don't like. Rides a little harder than I would like. A little bit harder than I would like. Actually, there's not much that I don't like. It's not a car that you can complain about. It feels pretty solid. I haven't tried the stereo system yet. It's got 16 speakers with these very shiny Bose speaker grills. They're a lot of speakers. Somebody's phone is ringing. Somebody's left their phone in this car. It's still ringing. Who could be calling you? You're in Salalah. Come on, man. There's some beans of overtaking this Lexus. You know what? She gets up and goes. She gets up and goes. All the luggage sliding around the back. This is somebody else's car. I can best describe the handling as sort of tight and accurate. Like, it tracks very well. It doesn't really go all over the place. It's very front wheel bias, so I can feel that front wheel bias. There's no, if there's stuff going to the back, I can't feel it. It feels very nose heavy. But it's not a bad thing. It's not again, not a sports car. It's a comfortable cruiser. If you give it the beans, 4,000 RPM is where the turbo seems to really hit its stride. Torque, again, is supposed to be a torque peak of about 4,000 RPM, so that makes sense. The old V6 was a very brawny, tough, brutal motor, and to be honest, not very refined. This one is a lot better because I mean, you can't tell. It's a 4-cylinder. There's no clatter, nothing. It just sounds like an engine. But the old one was very gruff and noisy. They had a great automatic actually. But you know, you can't win them all. But this is a decent CVT. I don't have much to complain about. Is there a sport mode? Okay, let me put this into. This has got driving modes: eco, personal. Go down to sport. Sport. Is what eco is like. Oh, eco is terrible. It's like it does not want to accelerate at all. It just is like, I'm not having it. It's just like, no. Okay. Let's go up to standard. Standard is what I've been driving, so I think I'll try sport. There's a truck doing a U-turn in front of me. He's failed. No, he's done it. He's done it. Only just. Alright, sport mode. Let's see how the throttle response is. It's a bit soggy in standard. Oh, that's much more like it. That's much better. So the whole trick for this car is that it can go economical and sporty when you need it. And I think when you put it in sport, you kind of see it. But it's not a sports car. It's not a sports car. Oh, it downshifts. But why does it downshift? It doesn't actually have a gearbox. It's a CVT. So when you put big wheels on a car, and you put stiff bushes, and you put a low pressure turbo, you're going to have a car that handles pretty well. So that's kind of the secret to all of these cars now, whether it's a Land Rover or Infiniti or Lexus. They put rock hard bushes, they put big wheels, massive wide ones. Of course you're going to have handling. But overall, I think I'm quite impressed with this. For the old car was a very sporty car. It was like an EX, was actually a G35 on stilts. It's a great handling car. But nobody bought it for those reasons. They bought it because they wanted a nice, comfortable Infiniti. And I think this is the way to go. So yeah, well done for my first drive in Salalah. I think Infiniti's done a good job of revamping this car. I'm happy with it. I think this is exactly what it needed to be. I would still like some improvements in infotainment. In terms of look, the actual functionality is great, nothing wrong with it. But it's a nice, comfortable car. It's well priced, and I love the blue. I love the blue. It's like the MME blue. So they kind of cheated there. They got me on the MME blue. Thanks for watching. This is Imthishan from Motoring Middle East. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all the rest. See you next time.